My name is Emma, and at 33 years old, I finally completed my master's degree in medical engineering after 3 intensive years of research and night classes. Working full-time and raising 2 children, I should have been proud standing at that podium, presenting my groundbreaking research, but all I could see were 5 empty seats in the audience reserved for the family who never showed. I clutched my research presentation folder, surrounded by applauding medical professionals and fellow researchers, yet completely alone. My breakthrough in AI-assisted medical diagnosis meant everything to me, but apparently nothing to them. The real gut punch came after the presentation, when my phone lit up with an urgent message from my husband. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe to join a community who understands that family disappointment cuts deeper than any other pain. For the past 10 years, I had been married to David, a 35-year-old architectural consultant with a growing practice in Boston. Together, we had 2 children. Jake, our 13-year-old son, who was going through that typical teenage phase of finding his parents. Embarrassing, and Lily, our bright 10-year-old daughter, who was becoming increasingly interested in her social life. We lived in a modest 4-bedroom house in the suburbs of Boston. Not too flashy, but comfortable enough, with a small backyard where the kids could play during the rare warm days our New England weather offered. I worked at MedTech Solutions, Inc., a cutting-edge medical technology firm where I had been employed for nearly 7 years. My job as a medical systems engineer was demanding, often requiring 55-plus hours per week, especially when we were developing new diagnostic equipment or when hospitals needed urgent system implementations. I was good at what I did, precise with code and patient with frustrated medical staff. But year after year, I watched as my male colleagues, with less experience, got promoted ahead of me. You need more specialized credentials, my boss would say during my performance reviews. A bachelor's degree in engineering is great, but everyone has that. If you want to move up to lead the AI development team, you need a master's in medical engineering. After the 3rd time being passed over for promotion, I made up my mind. I would get that master's degree in medical engineering no matter what it took. The Research Institute across town offered evening programs designed for working professionals in the medical field. It would take 3 years of intensive study and research, but I figured it was worth the investment in my future and in potentially saving lives through better medical technology. What I did not fully anticipate was how consuming the research would become. I would wake up at 5:30 a.m. to prepare breakfast for the family and pack lunches for the kids. Then I would work a full day, rush to the lab 4 evenings a week from 600 to 1000 p.m., and come home exhausted to find dishes in the sink and homework that still needed checking. On the weekends, instead of relaxing, I would lock myself in our home office for hours to analyze medical data and refine my AI algorithms, while David took the kids to soccer games or birthday parties. Mom is always working on her computer stuff, I once overheard. Jake complained to his father. She never has time for us anymore. Those words stung, but I tried to rationalize it. This was temporary. This was for our future, and for countless patients who could benefit from faster, more accurate diagnoses. Once I had my degree and could lead the AI development team, we would have more financial stability, maybe even enough for that family vacation to Disney World the kids had been begging for. My relationship with my brother Marcus complicated things further. 3 years older than me at 36, Marcus had always been the golden child in our family. He ran a successful high-end event planning business, lived in a luxury downtown loft, and as a bachelor with no children, enjoyed the freedom to travel extensively and plan elaborate parties for Boston's elite social circle. Our parents, who lived in a retirement community in Florida, never tried to hide their preference for him. When we were growing up, they attended every one of his drama performances, but frequently missed my science fair competitions. As adults, they would drop everything to attend Marcus's glamorous events, but would find excuses when I needed someone to watch the kids. During my final research presentations, "Your brother is just more exciting to be around," my mother, Patricia, once told me after I confronted her about this imbalance. "You are always so serious and buried in your technical work." The irony was not lost on me that being dedicated to potentially life-saving research was somehow being held against me. Despite these frustrations, I persevered with my studies. I analyzed medical imaging data after the kids went to bed, often staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning. I studied research papers during my lunch breaks. I sacrificed vacations using that time to collect more data for my research instead. When friends invited us to parties or weekend getaways, I usually declined knowing I needed those hours for my project. David was supportive at first, picking up some of the slack at home and encouraging me. When I felt overwhelmed by the complexity of combining artificial intelligence with medical diagnosis. But as the years dragged on, his patience began to wear thin. "How much longer is this going to take?" he would ask. "The kids barely see you anymore, and honestly, I don't understand half of what you're working on." "Just 1 more year," I would assure him. "Then just a few more months? Then just until I finish this breakthrough research." By the time my research presentation finally approached, our marriage was strained. We still loved each other, but the distance between us had grown. David had developed his own routines and social circles, often taking the kids to community events or to visit his parents without me. I had missed so many family dinners, school performances, and weekend outings that it had become normal for them to function without me, which is why the research presentation meant so much to me. It was not just about the degree or the career advancement opportunities it would bring. It was a chance to show my family, especially my children, that all those sacrifices had been for something meaningful that could actually save lives. I wanted them to see me, present my breakthrough research, to feel proud of their mother, to understand that women could pursue cutting-edge science at any stage of life. I wanted that moment of recognition, that collective celebration that would make the past 3 years of exhaustion worthwhile. "When I present my research," I told David, "about 6 months before the end of my program, I want everyone there. You, the kids, my parents, even my sister Rachel from Denver. This is going to be a big day for all of us." He had nodded and squeezed my hand. "Of course, babe. We wouldn't miss it for the world." How hollow those words would eventually sound. 6 months before my research presentation, I began planning meticulously for what I envisioned would be one of the most important days of my life. The Medical Research Institute had sent an email with all the details, including the limited number of guest passes each presenter would receive. I immediately requested the maximum allocation of 6 passes, 1 each for David, Jake, Lily, my mum, my dad, and my sister Rachel. I called my parents in Florida to give them the date, which they dutifully wrote down on their calendar. "We will try our best to make it, sweetie," my mother said in a tone that suggested she was already considering what might be more important. Still, I remained optimistic. This was my research presentation after all, and it could lead to medical breakthroughs. Surely they would prioritize it. Next, I reached out to Rachel, who lived in Denver with her husband and worked as a nurse practitioner. Unlike our parents, she seemed genuinely excited for me. "I am so proud of you, sis," she said. "Working full-time, raising kids, and developing AI that could revolutionize medical diagnosis. You are incredible. I will book my flight next week." With family attendance seemingly secured, I turned my attention to the celebration afterward. I researched restaurants near the Institute and found a highly rated medical district bistro called the Healing Table that could accommodate our party of 8. It was expensive, nearly $400 for the reservation, but this was a once-in-a-lifetime occasion. I put down the deposit without hesitation. Since my parents would be traveling from out of state, I also booked them a hotel room at the Marriott near the medical center, using points I had accumulated through business trips. Everything was falling into place, and for once, I allowed myself to feel excitement rather than stress when thinking about my research. 2 months before the presentation, I splurged on a new professional outfit, a sophisticated charcoal grey blazer and skirt combination that would look appropriate for presenting to medical professionals, but elegant for the dinner afterward. I scheduled appointments for hair, makeup, and a manicure on the morning of the presentation. These were luxuries I rarely indulged in, always putting family expenses first, but I wanted to look and feel my best on this day. "Mom, you look really smart," Lily said when I tried on the outfit at home. "Like those doctors on TV who save people's lives." Her comment brought tears to my eyes. I could not remember the last time I had dressed up for anything other than a work function. The daily grind of juggling responsibilities had left little time for personal care. 3 weeks before the presentation, the first hint of trouble appeared. Marcus called to catch up, something he did sporadically when he remembered he had a sister. After asking superficial questions about my research, he dropped a bombshell. By the way, I am throwing the most epic engagement party at my loft on May 15th. I just got engaged to Victoria, the socialite whose family owns half of Beacon Hill. It is going to be the event of the season. You guys should come. The kids would love the rooftop pool. My stomach dropped. Marcus, that is my research presentation day. I told everyone months ago. There was a pause on the line. Oh, right. I forgot about your science thing. Can you change your party to another weekend? I asked, trying to keep my voice level. Not really, he replied, sounding completely unconcerned. I have already invited like 200 people, including Victoria's family and all the major social influencers in Boston. But hey, when does your presentation end? Maybe you can stop by afterward. I felt my blood pressure rising. The presentation is at 2:00 p.m. and will probably go until 6. Then we have dinner reservations. But that is not the point. My family is supposed to be at my presentation. Come on, Emma, Marcus said with that dismissive tone he had perfected since childhood. It is just a research presentation. You are not curing cancer or anything. This is just you showing some computer stuff to a bunch of doctors. I was speechless. Just some computer stuff. 3 years of developing AI that could detect heart disease 40% faster than current methods, reduced to computer stuff. Before I could formulate a response that was not purely profanity, Marcus continued. Look, Mum and Dad are coming to my engagement party. They already confirmed. And they are bringing Aunt Susan and Uncle Joe, who are visiting from New York. You know how rarely we see them, and Victoria's parents are flying in from Europe. Now I was truly seeing red. You told Mum and Dad about your party before checking with me about the date, even though you knew my presentation was coming up. I did not realize it was such a big deal, he said defensively. You are 33, not 23. It is not like this is your first academic thing. Besides, my engagement only happens once. We argued for another 15 minutes, with Marcus refusing to budge and me growing increasingly upset. By the time I hung up, I was shaking with anger and fighting back tears. I immediately called my mother, hoping she would see reason and prioritize my presentation. Mom, Marcus scheduled his engagement party on my research presentation day. You cannot go to that instead. Her response was infuriatingly diplomatic. Oh dear, what bad timing. Cannot you both reschedule? No, Mom. The Medical Research Institute does not change presentation dates for individuals. This has been planned for over a year. I told you about it 6 months ago. Well, it is just so difficult, she sighed. Your aunt and uncle will be here from New York, and you know your father loves Marcus's fancy parties. Cannot we come to both? The conversation went downhill from there, with my mother suggesting I was being selfish for not understanding the family's desire to attend both events, as if that were physically possible with the timing and distance involved. That evening, I tearfully recounted the conversation to David, expecting his unwavering support. He listened attentively, rubbing my back as I expressed my hurt and disappointment. Your family has always been like this, he said soothingly. But hey, you will still have us there cheering you on. Me and the kids will be your fan club. That is what really matters, right? His words calmed me somewhat. He was right. As long as my immediate family, my husband and children were there to support me, I could handle my parents' predictable preference for Marcus. After all, David and the kids had witnessed the daily struggle, the late nights, the stress headaches, the missed family events. They understood what this achievement meant to me. Promise me you 3 will be there, I said, looking into his eyes. No matter what. I promise, David replied, kissing my forehead. Nothing could keep us away. I wanted desperately to believe him. The day before the presentation arrived with a flurry of last-minute preparations. I picked up my printed research materials from the office, carefully organizing them in my briefcase. I polished my best shoes, a pair of black pumps that were professional yet comfortable enough to stand for hours without discomfort. I charged my phone and backup devices to ensure I could capture plenty of memories and handle any technical issues. My excitement was tinged with anxiety. Despite David's assurances, I could not shake the feeling that something would go wrong. I got a formal email from my parents 2 days ago saying they'd attend Marcus's engagement party instead of my presentation. They promised to take me to dinner the next time they were in town to celebrate. I had read the email once, then deleted it without responding. Rachel had also backed out, calling with genuine regret in her voice, to explain that her hospital was dealing with a critical shortage due to a flu outbreak, making travel impossible. I understood her situation completely. but it still added to my growing sense of abandonment. "At least I still have you three," I said to David as we prepared dinner that evening. He nodded distractedly, focused on his phone. I noticed he had been texting frequently throughout the day, but thought nothing of it until my own phone rang. It was my mother. "Emma, I just wanted to call and see if the kids are still coming to Marcus's party tomorrow. He has arranged for a children's entertainer and there will be a whole kids area on the rooftop, and Lily and Jake are on his list." I nearly dropped the pot of pasta I was draining. "What? No, Mom. The kids are coming to my presentation with David." "Oh," she sounded confused. "Marcus said David mentioned bringing them to the party. There will be several families there with children their age, and Marcus hired professional entertainers and a DJ just for the kids. They would have much more fun than sitting through a long technical presentation." My hands were shaking as I set down the pot and stepped away from the stove. I looked at David, who was suddenly very interested in chopping vegetables. "Mom, I need to go," I said abruptly and ended the call. The silence in the kitchen was deafening until I broke it. "David, why does my mother think you and the kids are going to Marcus's engagement party tomorrow?" He would not meet my eyes. "I might have mentioned to Marcus that the kids were asking about the party. They heard about the entertainment and the rooftop pool from their cousins. And you told him you were bringing them without discussing it with me first?" David finally looked up, his expression a mixture of guilt and defiance. "Emma, be reasonable. The presentation is going to be 4 hours of sitting quietly while you talk about artificial intelligence and medical algorithms. The kids will be bored out of their minds, so instead of teaching them about supporting family and celebrating achievements, you are teaching them that fun always comes first?" My voice was rising despite my efforts to stay calm. "This research represents 3 years of sacrificing time with them to develop technology that could save lives. Do you not think it is important for them to see that hard work and dedication can make a real difference in the world?" David sighed heavily. "Of course I do. But the kids really want to go to the party. Jake has been talking non-stop about the gaming setup Marcus arranged, and Lily heard that her friend Emma from dance class will be there. Marcus invited her whole family. So what are you saying?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "That you want to take our children to a party instead of watching their mother present research that could revolutionize medical diagnosis?" "Cannot we compromise?" David suggested, his tone irritatingly reasonable. "Maybe I take the kids to the party and we meet you at the restaurant afterward to celebrate. Or I could come to the presentation alone and pick you up after dropping the kids at Marcus's." I stared at him in disbelief. "Do you hear yourself? This is not about negotiating a business deal. This is about being there for me on one of the most important days of my life." "You are being dramatic," David muttered. "It is just a research presentation." Just a research presentation. The exact words Marcus had used. As if my work to potentially save lives was trivial. A minor inconvenience in their social calendars. 3 years, David, I said, my voice quivering. 3 years of missing bedtimes, of coding until 300 a.m., of using every vacation day for research instead of family trips. 3 years of you complaining about my absence, of the kids feeling neglected, of me carrying guilt on top of exhaustion. And now that it is finally done, now that I want one day, just one single day of recognition and support, you are all too busy with a party. The kids should be able to decide for themselves, he countered. They are 13 and 10. Of course, they would choose a party with entertainment over a technical presentation. That is why parents make decisions based on values, not on what is more entertaining. The argument escalated from there. Jake and Lily came downstairs, drawn by our raised voices. When they realized what we were fighting about, they predictably sided with their father, with Jake declaring that only nerds care about boring presentations, and Lily tearfully asking why I wanted to ruin their fun. I went to bed that night without eating dinner, too upset to stomach food. David slept on the couch, a rare occurrence in our marriage. As I lay awake staring at the ceiling, I wondered how we had reached this point. How had my family become so disconnected from my life, so dismissive of my achievements? The irony was painful. I had pursued this research primarily for them, to provide a better lifestyle, to be a role model of scientific dedication. Yet, they could not give me a single afternoon of support in return. I cried silently into my pillow, mourning not just tomorrow's inevitable disappointment, but something deeper, a fundamental misalignment in how my family and I valued each other's lives. Sleep evaded me until the early hours of the morning, my presentation outfit hanging like a ghost in the corner of the bedroom, a symbol of tomorrow's empty celebration. I woke up disoriented after just a few hours of restless sleep. For a moment, I forgot about the previous night's argument, my mind automatically shifting into presentation day excitement. Then, reality crashed back and I reached across the bed to find David's side empty and cold. Dragging myself to the bathroom, I splashed cold water on my puffy eyes and tried to summon some enthusiasm. This was still my day, my achievement. I would not let their absence ruin it completely. Downstairs, the house was eerily quiet. No sounds of breakfast being made. No television cartoons. No bickering children. On the kitchen counter sat a hastily scrawled note, "Took the kids to Marcus's early to help with party setup. We'll try to make it back for your presentation. Congratulations, David." The note felt like a physical blow. Not even a proper goodbye, just an afterthought. I crumpled it and threw it in the trash, then made myself a cup of coffee with trembling hands. The clock read 9:30 a.m. My hair appointment was at 1,000, followed by makeup at 1100. The presentation began at 200 p.m., with researchers required to arrive by 100 for equipment setup and final preparations. Despite the hollow feeling in my chest, I forced myself to follow the day's schedule. The hairstylist commented on my subdued mood, but professionally avoided prying when I did not engage in the usual salon chit-chat. The makeup artist did her best to conceal my swollen eyes and pale complexion, creating a polished look that contrasted sharply with my inner turmoil. Back home, I carefully put on my new professional outfit, straightened my hair, and organized my research materials one final time. I took a selfie in the full-length mirror, trying to smile, trying to feel something beyond the hurt. I posted it to social media with a caption about breakthrough research and tagged my family members out of habit. Or perhaps spite. The congratulatory comments began immediately. Co-workers, medical professionals I had worked with, old college friends, all expressing excitement and support. Everyone except those who mattered most. I texted David before leaving the house. "I am heading to the presentation now. Are you still planning to come?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, Lily had a severe allergic reaction to something at the party. Nothing serious, but lots of panic. "Might be late. Save us seats if you can." I did not bother responding. Seating was arranged by research group, with family seating in a designated area. There were no seats to save. David knew this. He had read the information packet I had left prominently on the kitchen counter for weeks. His message was just another flimsy excuse, another way to soften the blow of their impending absence. The drive to the Medical Research Institute was a blur. I parked in the crowded garage and made my way to the conference hall where researchers were gathering. Around me, fellow presenters greeted family members, posed for photos, received flowers and words of encouragement. I kept my head down, focusing on setting up my presentation equipment. My phone buzzed with messages of support from Sarah, my closest work colleague, and from Dr. Martinez, my research supervisor, who had written my recommendation letter for the AI development team leadership position I had applied for. Their words were kind, but only emphasized the silence from my family. The researchers processed into the main hall where distinguished medical professionals, hospital administrators, and industry leaders had gathered. From the podium, I scanned the audience desperately, hoping to spot David and the kids slipping in late. The session began with introductions from the Institute director, the head of medical AI research, and a renowned cardiologist who spoke about the future of artificial intelligence in healthcare. Words that felt like they were directed specifically at my work. When my research group was called, I rose and walked to the presentation area. In those moments of anticipation, I made a decision. I would present this breakthrough for myself, not for anyone else. I had earned this moment. Emma Martinez presenting AI-assisted cardiac diagnosis, reducing detection time by 40% through machine learning integration. I began my presentation with confidence, walking through my research methodology, demonstrating my AI system's capabilities, and showing real case studies where my technology had helped doctors identify heart conditions faster than ever before. There was engaged applause, thoughtful questions from medical professionals, and genuine excitement about the practical applications. No distinctive cheers from family, no special calls of my name, just the professional recognition of experts who understood the significance of my work. After completing my presentation, I felt oddly calm. The hurt was still there, but it had crystallized into something harder, something that felt like professional pride. I sat through the remainder of the session in a focused state, taking notes on other presentations, while my mind wandered to what would come next, how I would address this betrayal with my family, what it meant for my marriage, for my relationship with my children, for my sense of self-worth. When the session ended, researchers and their families gathered in the reception area for networking and celebration. I stood awkwardly at the periphery, watching families reunite, congratulations exchange, business cards swap. I took a few photos with colleagues I had worked with, but felt like an observer in their success stories. I checked my phone obsessively. No messages from David, no calls from the kids, nothing from my parents or Marcus. I scrolled through social media and saw that Marcus had posted photos of his engagement party, tagging my parents, David, and the children. They were all smiling, gathered around an elaborate chocolate fountain. The timestamp showed it had been posted 30 minutes ago, right in the middle of my presentation. Something broke inside me then, a dam of emotions I had been holding back all day. I found a quiet corner behind the medical equipment display and let myself cry. Ugly, heaving sobs that smeared my carefully applied makeup and left me gasping for breath. When I finally composed myself, I decided to cancel the restaurant reservation. There was no point in keeping it now. As I pulled up the restaurant's number on my phone, a text message appeared from David. "We need to talk urgently." Immediately afterward, I noticed something that sent a chill through me. 47 missed calls from David, all within the past hour. My heart rate doubled instantly. 47 missed calls could only mean an emergency. Had something happened to one of the kids? To my parents? Had there been an accident? I had silenced my phone during the presentation as requested by the Institute. In my emotional state afterward, I had not thought to check for missed calls, only messages. With shaking fingers, I called David back. He answered on the first ring. "Emma, thank God!" His voice was high-pitched with panic. "I have been trying to reach you for over an hour." "What happened?" I demanded, already walking quickly toward the parking garage. "Is everyone okay?" "It is Lily," David said, his words tumbling out in a rush. "She had a severe allergic reaction to something at the party. We think it was shellfish in one of the fancy appetizers. Her throat started closing up and we had to call an ambulance. We are at Boston Children's Hospital. She is stable now, but it was terrifying." I moved immediately to her side, maternal instinct overriding everything else. "Of course I came, sweetheart. How are you feeling? What happened?" As I smoothed her hair back from her forehead, the doctor approached and introduced herself as Dr. Chen. "Your daughter had a severe allergic reaction to shellfish," she explained, pointing to the monitoring equipment. "We administered epinephrine immediately and she responded well. We will keep her for observation for a few more hours, but she should make a complete recovery." I nodded gratefully, relief washing over me. "An allergic reaction was serious but treatable, not life-threatening with proper care." "She was so brave," my mother interjected, patting Lily's leg. She told the paramedics exactly what she had eaten to help them figure out what caused the reaction. I acknowledged her with a tight smile but could not bring myself to engage further. The fact that they were all here gathered around my daughter when they could not be bothered to attend my presentation felt like salt in an open wound. Marcus stepped forward, his expression contrite. "Thank God you got here, Em. The little princess has been asking for you non-stop." Something in his casual tone, the ease with which he acted as if this were just a normal family gathering, rather than the culmination of a profound betrayal, snapped what remained of my composure. "Thank God I got here," I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet, as opposed to where I was before, presenting breakthrough medical research alone while my entire family enjoyed a party. An uncomfortable silence fell over the small room. David shot me a warning look, silently pleading for me to not do this here, not now. But 3 years of suppressed exhaustion, frustration, and hurt had reached a boiling point. "I just spent the most important day of my professional life completely alone," I continued, my voice trembling but clear. "No husband, no children, no parents, not even a single congratulations text. Because a fancy engagement party was more important than 3 years of research that could actually save lives." "Emma," my father began, his tone placating, "this is hardly the time or place." "When would be a better time, Dad?" I asked, tears threatening again. "When I am back to being invisible? When I am back to being the responsible one who never gets acknowledged?" When I am back to putting everyone else first while none of you can spare a single afternoon for me? My mother looked genuinely confused. Honey, we did not realize it meant this much to you. It is just a presentation. Just a presentation, I repeated hollowly, just like it is just research. Just an accomplishment that could help doctors detect heart disease faster and save actual human lives. Just my life's work. Marcus, clearly uncomfortable with the tension, attempted to deflect. Look, what matters now is that Lily is going to be okay. This was an emergency situation. And if there had not been an emergency, I challenged him, would any of you have regretted missing my presentation? Would you have even thought about me at all today? The silence that followed was answer enough. David stepped forward, placing a hand on my arm. Emma, you are upset and you have every right to be, but Lily needs calm right now. We can discuss this later. I looked at my daughter, who was watching the adult drama unfold with wide, anxious eyes. Jake stood beside her, chewing his lip nervously. They did not deserve to witness this, to be caught in the crossfire of adult resentments. You are right, I conceded, taking a deep breath. Lily needs us to focus on her right now. I turned my attention fully to my daughter, asking her about how she was feeling, making sure she understood what would happen next with the monitoring process. I kept my voice steady and reassuring, compartmentalizing my hurt as I had done countless times before. But then something remarkable happened. As I explained to Lily about allergic reactions and how the epinephrine had helped her breathing, Dr. Chen looked at me with renewed interest. You seem to know quite a bit about emergency medicine, she commented. I am a medical systems engineer, I replied. I actually just finished presenting research on AI-assisted cardiac diagnosis this afternoon. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. You are Emma Martinez. I just heard about your presentation from my colleague, Dr. Williams. He said your AI system could revolutionize emergency cardiac care. That is incredible work. For the first time all day, I felt a spark of genuine pride. Thank you. It has been 3 years of intensive research. 3 years? Dr. Chen looked impressed. While working full-time and raising children? That is remarkable dedication. I noticed my family listening to this exchange with growing awareness. Marcus looked particularly uncomfortable as the doctor continued praising my research. When the nurse came to adjust Lily's IV, I volunteered to stay with her, needing both to comfort my daughter and to escape the suffocating presence of everyone else. As we sat together, Lily, holding my hand with her free one, spoke softly. I am sorry I missed your presentation, Mom. I really wanted to go to Uncle Marcus's party, and Dad said it would be okay. I swallowed hard. It is not your fault, sweetheart. Adults made those decisions, not you. But you are sad. Yes, I admitted, seeing no point in lying to her. I am sad, but I am also very proud of my work, and I hope someday you will understand why today was important. She nodded solemnly, her young face contemplative in a way that made her look suddenly older. I am proud of you too, Mom. That doctor said you help save people's hearts. Her simple words were the first genuine recognition I had received all day from my family. And they meant more coming from her than they would have from anyone else. After Lily was cleared for discharge, we returned to find the hospital room, mostly empty except for David, who explained that my parents and Marcus had gone to get coffee in the cafeteria. Jake had accompanied them, apparently more interested in the hospital gift shop than in his sister's medical situation. The doctor says we can take her home, David said, handing me the discharge paperwork. She has a prescription for an EpiPen that we need to fill. I nodded mechanically, still operating in mother mode, prioritizing Lily's needs above everything else. I will take her home. You can pick up the prescription. Emma, David began hesitantly. About today? Not now, I cut him off. Not in front of Lily. Just then my phone rang. It was Sarah, my colleague, who had promised to attend the presentation to support me. Emma, you were amazing today. Where did you go after the presentation? I wanted to congratulate you properly. I had completely forgotten about Sarah in the chaos of the emergency. Sarah, I am so sorry. I am at Boston Children's Hospital. Lily had an allergic reaction. Oh my God. Is she okay? Her concern was immediate and genuine. She is fine now. We are about to head home. Do you need anything? Company, food, someone to pick up prescriptions? Her thoughtful offers, in stark contrast to my family's behavior, brought a lump to my throat. Actually, would you mind coming over later? I could use a friend right now. Of course. I will bring Chinese takeout. Text me your address. After ending the call, I noticed David watching me with an odd expression. Who was that? He asked. Sarah from work. She came to my presentation since no one else from my family did, I replied pointedly. She is bringing dinner later. Before he could respond, my parents and Marcus returned with Jake, all carrying hospital cafeteria coffees and snacks. My mother immediately fussed over Lily's discharge instructions, while my father asked about follow-up appointments. Marcus hung back, uncharacteristically subdued. We are taking Lily home now, I announced to the group. She needs rest. We will come with you, my mother declared. You will need help with dinner and getting her settled. No, I said firmly, surprising even myself with the forcefulness of my response. Thank you, but no. Sarah is bringing dinner, and I can manage my own daughter. The stunned silence that followed gave me a small vindictive satisfaction. But we came all this way, my father protested. And we were planning to stay until tomorrow. You can go back to Marcus's, I suggested coolly. I am sure the engagement party is still going on. I need some space right now. Marcus looked like he might object, but thought better of it. My mother appeared genuinely hurt, but for once I could not bring myself to accommodate her feelings at the expense of my own. We parted awkwardly in the hospital parking lot, with promises to call tomorrow and check on Lily. David drove our car with Lily carefully secured in the back seat and Jake unusually quiet beside his sister. I stared out the passenger window, physically and emotionally exhausted. At home, I helped Lily get comfortable on the living room couch with pillows supporting her arm where the IV had been and her favourite streaming show playing. Jake retreated to his room, clearly sensing the tension between his parents. David hovered uncertainly, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. I am going to change, I said, gesturing to my presentation outfit that I was still wearing. Then we need to talk. Upstairs, I peeled off the charcoal grey blazer and skirt that should have been associated with triumph, but now felt like a costume from a failed performance. I put on comfortable clothes, washed the smeared makeup from my face, and took several deep breaths before returning downstairs. David was in the kitchen, mechanically unpacking the EpiPen prescription bag from the pharmacy. He looked up when I entered. Emma, I know you are angry, he began. Angry does not begin to cover it, I replied, keeping my voice low so the kids would not hear. I feel betrayed, David. By you most of all. He had the decency to look ashamed. I made a mistake. I thought the kids would have more fun at the engagement party, and I did not realize how important the presentation was to you. How could you not realize? I have been talking about it for months. I specifically asked you to promise you would be there, all of you. I know, and I am sorry. When Marcus invited us, the kids got so excited, and it seemed like a harmless compromise at the time. A compromise implies both parties agree, I said bitterly. You made a unilateral decision to prioritize entertainment over supporting me. David leaned against the counter, running a hand through his hair. You are right. I screwed up badly. But does one mistake erase 10 years of marriage? 3 years of me supporting you through your research? Supporting me, I repeated incredulously. You complained constantly about my absence. You made me feel guilty for working late in the lab. You took the kids to events without even trying to include me. And then on the one day I needed you to show up for me, you chose my brother's party instead. That is not fair, he protested. I have been juggling work and childcare and house maintenance while you were in the lab 4 nights a week. I have been supportive in ways you do not even see. And I have been working full-time while researching nights and weekends for 3 years to develop technology that could save lives, I countered. We have both made sacrifices, David. The difference is that I would never, ever have missed an important milestone in your career. The truth of that statement hung between us. David knew I was right. For all his complaints about my absence, I had always shown up for his important moments, rearranging my research schedule, missing lab time if necessary. What do you want me to do? He asked finally. How do I fix this? I shook my head slowly. I do not know if you can fix it immediately. I need time to think about what this means for us, about whether I can trust you to value me and my work. Are you saying you want a separation? Alarm crept into his voice. No, I clarified. I am saying I need space to process what happened today. I am going to stay at the hotel I booked for my parents, just for a week. I need to clear my head. A week? Emma, be reasonable. Lily just had a serious allergic reaction. She needs her mother. Lily has a father who apparently is perfectly capable of making decisions without consulting me, I replied sharply. She will be fine for a few days with you in charge. I will check in on her daily and come back if there are any complications. David looked like he wanted to argue further but seemed to realize he was in no position to deny me this request. When will you leave? After Sarah brings dinner and I explain things to the kids. I will pack tonight and leave in the morning. As if on cue, the doorbell rang announcing Sarah's arrival. She brought not only Chinese takeout as promised, but also a congratulations gift. A beautiful leather-bound research journal embossed with my initials and a card signed by several colleagues from the medical technology team. "We are all so proud of you," she said, hugging me tightly. "That presentation was groundbreaking. Dr. Williams is already talking about implementing your system in the cardiac unit." Her genuine excitement and recognition brought fresh tears to my eyes. This was all I had wanted from my family, this basic acknowledgement of my achievement and its potential impact. After dinner, while Sarah helped David clear the dishes, I sat with both children to explain my temporary absence. I reassured Lily that I would check on her every day and that I was not leaving because of her allergic reaction. "I just need some quiet time to think," I told them. "Sometimes adults need space just like you do when you get overwhelmed." Jake, more perceptive than I had given him credit for, asked directly, "Is this because we missed your presentation?" "Partly," I admitted, not wanting to lie to them. I was very hurt by that, but this is more about me needing to figure out what I want going forward. It is not a punishment for anyone. It is just something I need. To my surprise, both children accepted this explanation with minimal protest. Perhaps they sensed the depth of my hurt, or perhaps they were simply exhausted by the day's events. Either way, they hugged me goodnight with extra fierceness, as if already missing me. The next morning, I packed a small suitcase and drove to the downtown hotel, checking into the room I had originally reserved for my parents. The irony was not lost on me. As I settled into the quiet space, I felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. For the first time in years, I had put my own needs first. The guilt I had expected to feel was surprisingly absent, replaced by a newfound sense of self-respect. Over the next few days, I received a flurry of apologetic texts and calls. My parents left a tearful voicemail admitting they had been thoughtless. Marcus sent an elaborate flower arrangement to the hotel with a card acknowledging his selfishness. David called every evening, his tone increasingly desperate as he realized I was serious about this time apart. I spent the week reflecting on my relationships, my career goals, and what I wanted from the next phase of my life. I visited Lily daily, bringing small gifts and helping her understand her new allergy restrictions. I had lunch with Jake at his school, reassuring him that family challenges were normal and resolvable. I spoke with my boss about the AI development team leadership position, which had been officially offered to me based on my research presentation. By the end of the week, I had reached several important conclusions. My family's behavior had revealed a painful truth about how they valued my contributions and aspirations, but it had also given me clarity about my own worth and the boundaries I needed to establish going forward. When I finally returned home, I was ready for the difficult conversations that would reshape our family dynamics. 1 week after my research presentation, I drove home from the hotel with a sense of purpose I had not felt in years. The time alone had been transformative, allowing me to process my hurt without the constant pressure to forgive prematurely for the sake of family harmony. David was waiting for me on the front porch, a tentative smile on his face. He helped carry my suitcase inside, where the house was surprisingly clean and orderly. I later learned he had hired a cleaning service, a gesture that acknowledged how much domestic labor I typically shouldered alongside my other responsibilities. "The kids are at school," he said. "I thought we should talk privately first." We sat at the kitchen table, the scene of countless family meals and homework sessions. The familiar setting underscored how much had changed in just 1 week. "I have been thinking a lot about us," David began. "About how I have taken you for granted, about how I failed to support you when it mattered most." I nodded, appreciating his directness. "I have been thinking too, about what I need from this marriage going forward." "Tell me," he said. And for perhaps the first time in years, he seemed genuinely ready to listen. "I need respect for my work, not just lip service. I need a true partner who values my goals as much as his own and the children's. I need to stop being the default parent, the default housekeeper, the one whose needs always come last." David did not become defensive as he might have before. Instead, he acknowledged the truth in my words. "You deserve all of that. I see now how I have been putting you last, even while complaining about your absence. It was unfair and hypocritical. We talked for hours, more honestly than we had in years. David revealed his own insecurities about my professional advancement, fearing I would outgrow him intellectually. I shared my resentment over bearing the mental load of family management while pursuing my research. We discussed practical changes like hiring regular help with housework and creating a fair division of parenting responsibilities. When the children returned from school, we had a family meeting. Lily, now carrying her new EpiPen everywhere, sat solemnly as we explained that we were working through some challenges, but were committed to being stronger as a family. "Does this mean you are staying, Mom?" Lily asked, her voice small. "Yes," I assured her. "But it also means some things will be different. I will be starting a new leadership position at work soon, with more responsibility, and everyone in this family needs to contribute more at home." To my surprise, both children readily agreed. Jake volunteered to take over grocery shopping duties, while Lily offered to be responsible for meal planning with her new dietary restrictions in mind. They seemed almost relieved to have concrete ways to help maintain our household. Over the next few days, I had similarly forthright conversations with my parents and Marcus. I invited them over individually, not wanting to feel outnumbered during these difficult discussions. My parents arrived first, bearing gifts and apologies. My mother handed me a card containing a substantial check, clearly hoping to buy forgiveness. I returned it to her gently but firmly. "This is not about money," I explained. "This is about recognizing a pattern that has existed my entire life. Marcus's events always take priority. His achievements are celebrated while mine are dismissed as hobbies." My father looked genuinely surprised. "We had no idea you felt this way, Emma." "That is part of the problem," I replied. "You never asked. You never tried to understand what I do." The conversation was uncomfortable but necessary. I did not demand dramatic promises or tearful apologies. Instead, I established clear boundaries for our relationship moving forward. I would no longer accept last-minute cancellations or secondary status in family priorities. I would no longer exhaust myself trying to earn approval that was freely given to my brother. Marcus's visit was equally revealing. Without the buffer of our parents or my children, he was forced to confront his role in the family dynamic. "I never intentionally tried to overshadow you," he insisted. "Intent does not erase impact," I countered. "Your engagement party could have been scheduled for any weekend. You chose my presentation day, then refused to change it." To his credit, Marcus did not make excuses. "You are right. I have been selfish. I think I have gotten used to being the center of attention in this family, and I never considered that your work might be just as important as my social events." We reached an understanding that would require ongoing effort to maintain. I did not expect decades of patterns to change overnight, but I was no longer willing to accept being an afterthought in my own family story. The weeks that followed brought gradual healing. Lily's allergy management became a family effort, with everyone learning to read ingredient labels carefully. My promotion to AI development team leader came through, complete with a significant salary increase and my own research lab. The extra income allowed us to hire a weekly cleaning service and a part-time nanny, relieving some of the domestic burden that had contributed to my exhaustion. David followed through on his promises, taking on more parenting responsibilities and making a point to celebrate my professional achievements publicly. The children, watching their parents model new behaviors, began showing more appreciation for my contributions, both at work and at home. The most meaningful gesture came 2 months later, when Marcus organized a surprise celebration for my research breakthrough. He invited my close colleagues and medical professionals I had worked with, ordered a cake decorated with a heart monitor design, and gave a speech acknowledging my dedication to saving lives through technology. My parents attended, bringing a framed copy of a medical journal article that had already cited my research. It was a lovely evening, but its significance went beyond the celebration itself. It represented a shift in how my family perceived my accomplishments, a recognition that my milestones deserved the same attention and respect as anyone else's. As I prepared to hang my research award in my new lab, I reflected on the unexpected journey that had followed my presentation day. What should have been a simple celebration had instead become a catalyst for profound change in my most important relationships. I had learned that sometimes the greatest gift of achievement is not the recognition itself, but the self-knowledge that comes with it. I had learned that standing up for myself did not mean losing my family, but rather creating healthier connections based on mutual respect. I had learned that setting boundaries, though initially painful, ultimately allows for more authentic relationships. Most importantly, I had learned that my worth was not determined by others' recognition, but by my own sense of accomplishment and the potential impact of my work. The empty seats at my presentation had initially felt like rejection, but they had ultimately led to a fuller understanding of my own value and the courage to demand that others recognize it too. Sometimes the deepest wounds lead to the most significant growth.